everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Welcome to Friday's live stream. I see Rick is already in the house, Charger Mopar, taking a break from the heat. And it looks like he's the only one here so far, but we're just getting started. I will give a quick note for those of you that are new to the channel and have never been to a live stream before. The reason I'm always looking this way off of the camera is that my big screen is over here and my camera is over here and on top of the laptop. So I can't actually read the comments on my laptop screen, but I can read them on the big screen over here, which is why I'm looking away from the camera quite a bit during my live streams, because I want to be able to read the comments. I see we got a couple more people in here, so go ahead and say hello as you enter. As you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Please consult your doctor before starting any diet or exercise program. Yes, the duck is in the nest. I guess it's been kind of hot down there, Rick, huh? Well, I don't blame you from coming in to hide from the heat just a little bit. I'm actually looking forward to this weekend because, as you all know, last weekend was just brutal up here. It was, now granted, it's not South Florida weather, but for Omaha, Nebraska, it was between 93 and 95 degrees with anywhere from 10 to 15 or 16 degrees of humidity, making the heat index somewhere around 110 to 115. It was not a pleasant weekend last weekend. Whereas this weekend, right now, it's 78 degrees outside and cloudy. It's supposed to get up to 80 by the time I go to work, which will be right after this live stream. But it should be a rather pleasant weekend out at the miniature golf course compared to last weekend. Danny is here. Hello, Danny. Glad you made it. Thanks for stopping by. And Rick says, it's always hot here. No rain for weeks, 84 degrees and miserable, but at least my yard is a jungle. Yes, your yard is a jungle. And he says it's 94 degrees now. Yeah, you're in South Florida. I saw an interesting little article. It was about the top 15 most expensive cities in the world to live in, and Miami made the list. So perhaps, I mean, I don't know if your property is worth anything for selling, but perhaps moving a little further north might not be a bad idea just to save a little money. I don't know if you can sell that property for anywhere close to what it's worth, but it might be worth looking into since Miami is listed in the top 15 expensive cities in the world. But anyway, back to the carnivore diet. Does anybody out there think that perhaps our medical system is actually more interested in keeping us sick as customers than they are in actually healing anything? Because as we all know, a patient healed is a patient lost. But looking at all of the foods that they're promoting as healthy and things that are good for us, doesn't it seem like they are more invested in keeping us sick than anything else? It seems that way to me. I mean, why else would places like the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association be suggesting the diets that they're suggesting? Because I followed all of those suggestions for, the first 58 years of my life. And all that did was get me continuing problems with gout, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, spinal stenosis, the inability to stand for more than a couple of minutes. A triple bypass surgery. I was taking 13 pills in the morning and 9 at night. And I was following their directions. So perhaps it means, perhaps they're not quite as interested in helping us as they think they are. Let me know what your thoughts are. Sylvie has arrived. Hello, Sylvie. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. I hope everybody is having a great Friday out there. While we still wait for a few more to come in and say hello, I know a lot of people don't like when I talk about the Swirl products, but I'm going to talk about them anyway, and I'm going to talk about them early just to get them out of the way, because I believe in them. I'm not asking you to believe in them. I'm just telling you that I believe in the Swirl products, because our bodies release our own adult stem cells as part of the healing process. We know that as fact. We also know as fact that as we age, our ability to release our own adult stem cells that do magics to our systems for healing, that production goes down steadily as we age. If you follow the link on the screen or down below to semiretiredbob.swirl.com, you will find all the information you need about our flagship product, Stem Enhance Ultra, in its see-through bottle, because it has a green label about the same shade as my green screen on the back. But the flagship product does help your body boost its own ability to release adult stem cells, which do magics in the blood. If you want more information about it, feel free to go to the website and click on one of the drop-down menus up above, and you can read all about the science behind it there. If you need even more in-depth information, Professor K has an entire Swirl playlist on his channel. I suggest you check those things out. There, that's my strong arm twisting about the Swirl products today. But that's where we're at. We give a little shout out to the channel members, because Danny is in the house right now. So I want to say hi to him and let all of the channel members get their recognition on the crawler down below. So if you guys have any topics or questions, be sure and put them over there in the comments, because see here. Yeah, well, you can think that. You are welcome to your own opinion. But for me, they work. And for many people, they work. Which is why I don't strong arm anybody. I just tell you to go look at the website and read the science for yourself. You don't have to believe it. That's entirely up to you, because your opinion and free thinking is allowed on this channel. Let's see here. What else has been going on this week? Oh, did anybody get any good deals on Prime Days? I know not a lot of you shop Amazon as much as I do, but I got some things that I've been needing. Hopefully it all comes in over the next couple of days and I can make a video showing you what all I got. If you go back and watch my pictures, the video that I did late July when I had my little get-together, I bought these 2 long skinny grills because they were cheap, and they aren't the best grills in the world. I mean, they were like $10 each, but I did manage to cook a bunch of hamburgers on them. And they had a really nice kettle grill. Well, not nice, but they had a kettle grill on sale on Amazon Days. So I picked up a kettle grill. So besides my little propane, it's not propane, it runs on the butane gas. Besides my little cooker that I got, I now have a kettle grill that I'm going to take with me down to Texas. And that gives me a second option for cooking. And if I run out of charcoal and run out of butane for the cooker, all those little scrubs, I can cut up a couple of those scrubs and cook a week's worth of food on a few little branches in this kettle. So that will work out very nicely. I also got a shovel. There was I know people don't get excited about shovels, but I got excited about a shovel because it's got a nice long handle on it. It's almost as tall as I am. It's got a fiberglass handle, so it should hold up really well. It's got a reinforced thingy where the blade connects. Everything looks really good. And it was significantly cheaper because it was on Amazon Prime. So I got that. I got a shovel. I finally ordered a T-post pounder because I got one of those on sale, and a few other little miscellaneous odds and ends that hopefully when it all comes in, I can make a little video showing you the things I got from my homestead in a video on Amazon Prime days. Uncle Big Guy has arrived. Hello, Uncle Big Guy. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're having a great day down there in Kansas. It's certainly much cooler up here in Nebraska this weekend than it was last weekend. Okay, now I need to find my note sheet because we're not getting a whole lot of comments, so I got to find something to talk about while we spend this hour together. I like these hours because we basically just spend an hour together chatting about whatever you guys want to chat about. But yeah, getting back to the person that doesn't like cerule, fasting is a very good way to boost your body's healing. But fasting alone can still use some help. Oh, let's see here. We haven't talked about exercise in a while, so let's go ahead and talk about exercise. What kind of exercises are you guys doing? I know Rick doesn't actually do exercises. He just works really, really hard. Me, I do push-ups. I do sit-ups. I actually lay down on the bed with my legs hanging over the end and do leg ups to get some ab work in. I do planks, and I've recently started a new one where I plank in a push-up position, but I take one of my light kettlebells and it starts sitting outside my left hand. So I have to, while I'm holding the plank, I pick up my right hand and move the kettlebell over, set my hand down, and then I pick up my left hand and move the kettlebell over. And I keep doing that about 15 or 20 times, which makes different muscles engage while you're working on your plank. And of course, I still walk every day, and I do squats. And I do squats in different positions. You know, I'll put my feet about a foot out from the wall and lean back against the wall and slide up and down the wall. That way, I'll use a chair to do sit stands. I'll do regular squats, which is your feet about shoulder width apart. And I do what's called sumo squats, where you set your feet wide and drop your butt down in between your ankles. And I'm doing all of those, so let me know what kind of exercises you're doing. And Danny says, I got a deal on SodaStream bundle. Should be here today. Regular 159 was marked down to 89. We'll see how that works out. Yeah. And, you know, I don't do carbonated beverages anymore, but if you're still doing carbonated beverages, there's nothing wrong with that. And I remember being interested in the SodaStream back in the day, and I understand from friends of mine that still drink Diet Pop that Diet Pop has gotten really expensive recently. So getting a SodaStream makes an awful lot of sense, especially, you know, at $159, you have to kind of stop and think, oh, do I really want that? But now that it's less than $100, that's, I won't say that's insignificant, but you don't have to plan quite as much. You can try it for a few weeks, and if you decide you don't like it, you're not out nearly as much money. Let's see here. Oh, and there's another topic that I haven't talked about in a while. I know some carnivores drink milk. Some carnivores do not. Some carnivores do dairy, like cheese and cream cheese and yogurt. I know Rick eats yogurt. And some people do not. One of the things, and I saw a story about this, which is why I'm going to get back into it here for just a moment. Milk comes from mammals. They call it oat milk or almond milk. And the only workaround they sort of do it is because it's kind of white color and kind of pours out like milk and kind of acts like milk. But read the ingredient list on that kind of stuff. I heard a joke that said the reason they call it almond milk is because nobody can say nut juice with a straight face. But I did see an article, I think it was Italy, but that may not be right. But there was a story out there where they're not allowed to call fake foods by the name. So they're not allowed to call oat milk. They've got to call it something else. I don't remember what they said, but oat milk and almond milk and lab-grown meat and fake meat and Beyond Burgers and all that kind of stuff, they have to call them by something else now. They're not allowed to call them by their pseudo names. They're not allowed to say almond milk. I don't know what they have to call it, but they're not allowed to call it milk anymore because it's not milk. It's ingredients. And one of the things I go a little bit more in depth in tomorrow's video that's already out there waiting to come out. But what do you guys think about some of the stuff that's out there? Oh, wait a minute. There's Patricia. Patricia has arrived. Hello, Patricia. Glad you're here. We're up to 17 people. Surely somebody's got a topic they want me to talk about today. But I'm sure everybody remembers that's my age or thereabouts. Between 15 and 20 years ago, maybe even as much as 25, time kind of goes faster when you be my age, but there was the big fat-free, low-fat push. Everything in the grocery store said low-fat or fat-free on it that could say that. And all of the advertising and food places out there, the food advertising, the government in their nutritional recommendations and everything convinced us that that was the way to go, that we wanted to buy all of those fat-free and low-fat products because they were going to be healthier for us. And now there's a new one that I think is just as bad. It has nothing to do with carnivore, but has anybody else noticed in walking through the grocery store, there are a lot of products out there now that have plant-based on the label. And the reason I'm asking all of my plant-based influencers that stumble upon my videos to share this message, and let's join together and crush this trend before it gets too much steam. Because Oreos are technically plant-based because there's no animal products in them. But the Oreo cookie is certainly not healthy. There are a lot of people out there that don't spend a lot of time researching or studying diet, nutrition, all of the other stuff. These products that are called plant-based are not targeted at people that eat a good, well, I don't think there's such thing as a good plant-based diet, but those that are eating plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, they're eating the broccoli and the kale and the cauliflower and all that stuff. People like that doctor that I'm not going to name and a few other influencers out there, they're not the people that these products with plant-based on the label are targeted at. Just like when my generation was targeted for the fat-free, low-fat stuff. Those of us that didn't really know a whole lot about it, but sort of wanted to, kind of eat a little healthier, we would go for the cookies that said low fat on them, as opposed to the cookies that didn't. And I think that same thing is going to happen with the plant-based products, so that people that don't know any better are going to say, well, the Oreos say plant-based on them, and the Nutter Butters do not. So the Oreos must be healthier for us than the Nutter Butters. And they're going to start buying all these plant-based products, just the way my generation bought all of the low-fat, fat-free products. And I'd hate to think that 20 years from now, the next generation of people my age are going to be lamenting the fact that they got sucked into the plant-based trend that the food companies are pushing on them. So that's what I want to, let me know what you think about that. Let's see here. I found a channel where a girl is doing on only dairy and cream. I couldn't do it. Yeah, I suppose, depending on, just like with other diets, if you were supplementing properly, you would probably get by with that. But dairy as an add-on can be good for some people. But dairy by itself, I don't believe has a full amino acid profile. So you're going to have something else, or you're going to run into the same problems that people that eat other ways run into. The only way of eating that I know of that has a complete both protein and fat profiles that are essential, meaning we need to have them, we need to consume them because our body can't make them, is if you're eating the flesh of large ruminant animals and their associated fat. That has a complete protein and fat profile. And eggs are very good for you and have complete protein and fat profiles. But I'm not sure you can get that from a dairy and cream diet. Sandra is here. Hello, Sandra. How are you today? I hope you're having a great day. Oh, well, we are not quite a half hour in. We're up 24 people. Don't forget to say hello if you haven't said hello yet, so I can say hello back. And if you have any questions or comments or topics you want to talk about, be sure and let me know over there in the sidebar comments. They might be over there depending on where you're at. Had to look up Nutter Butter. Yeah, they were one of my favorites back in the day because I liked peanut butter. And Becky is here. Hello, Becky. I'm glad you made it. Thanks for stopping by. But let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes I see out there in not just the carnivore world, but carnivore, keto, ketovore, low carb, all of the basic moderate protein, high fat style of diets. Because, especially if you're my age or older, you've spent a very long time hearing people say, don't eat that much. Restrict your diet. Don't eat so much. You're going to get fat if you eat that much. One of the big problems that people run into, I believe, in doing carnivore is that they're not eating enough. Now, Rick is not a perfect example because he is very active. He has an active lifestyle. He works at a physical job. He works with his hands all day long, doing heavy manual labor. Looks like duck food. Poor ducks. Yes, it is duck food, Rick. It is, but it's one of those things that I used to like. Well, like Rick, Charger Mopar there in the comments, he eats, what is it, Rick? But depending on the day, between 3.5 and 5 pounds of meat a day, depending on whether he's having beef or chicken or iguana or whatever it is. He eats a lot of food. Now, I'm not saying that you should force down 4 or 5 pounds of meat every day, because not everybody needs that much meat. But if you're only eating, a couple of hamburger patties or even 3 hamburger patties and a couple of eggs, I don't think you're getting enough food. So you need to slowly try and increase what you're eating, because people are saying, oh, well, I tried the carnivore diet and it didn't work. Well, I think most of those people that didn't get any healing from it, not only did they give up too soon, but they were not eating enough. Let's see here. Peanut butter is pretty okay. I liked it back in the day. Yeah, peanut butter was one of the staples because I was an over-the-road truck driver. And I always had a big thing of peanut butter up in one of my cupboards, because if nothing else, if I got stuck out somewhere where I couldn't find a truck stop to park at, and I just had to pull off the side of the road and sleep for the night, always having, a couple of tubes of Ritz crackers and a big thing of peanut butter was a really good way to what I considered food at the time. Now I know peanut butter is not very good for you, but at the time I thought it was a pretty healthy food, so I always had a big jar of peanut butter in my truck, because it could sit there for months at a time and not be touched. But then when I needed it, it was there, because an unopened jar of peanut butter doesn't go bad. It can sit there in the cupboard of the truck for months on end without me needing it. But then when I needed it, it was there. Yes, you are correct. Unfortunately, beef has gotten so expensive. I may have to go into survival mode. And I saw where your bike broke down on the way home. You had a flat tire, so you ended up pushing your bike back with like 20 pounds of chicken on it all the way home. So I'm guessing that you got the chicken at a pretty decent price. The peanut butter I ate as a kid would go bad in weeks. Okay. Survival mode is 1 pound of ground beef, the rest pork, chicken, iguana, and duck, with yard-picked fruit as needed. Yeah, and, if beef gets really expensive, as long as we're getting a little bit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with, if you're normally like me, because I eat about 2 pounds of meat a day, and I feel much better when I'm eating beef, but as beef prices go up and pork prices stay the same, like I have a really big whole pork butt roast in my freezer that I'm probably going to put in the slow cooker when I go to work Monday morning and let it slow cook all day. And then that night, I might even let it run till Tuesday morning and then pull it out and divide it up, because it's about a 10 or 11 pound whole pork butt, and then have, like 3/4 of a pound of that and 3 or 4 burger patties for my meal, so that I'm still getting beef, but supplementing with the pork. And chicken is really cheap. I think I've still got a thing of chicken thighs down in the freezer as well, because right now beef is, well, the cheap hamburger that I buy is still running about $3 a pound. But I noticed a trend that it's going up. Whereas the whole pork butt roast I got was $1.94 a pound, and I can still get chicken thighs and chicken wings, chicken legs and chicken thighs bone in for about $1.20 a pound. So I may be eating a lot more chicken and pork over the next few months rather than just ground beef and eggs. We'll see how it goes. I see Craig has made it. I knew he was going to say something about peanut butter and sardines. Sardines are beyond my price range. Yeah, I agree. Just like, I used to like Spam. I still have some in the garage in my emergency food kit, but Spam is way overpriced. All of the so-called cheap meats, the potted meat, Vienna sausages, and all that stuff. If you start looking at how much you get in the can versus how much it costs now, you might as well just get ground beef, because ground beef is a lot cheaper than sardines or potted meat or Spam or Vienna sausages or any of that stuff. Let's see here. Is that an American thing? I don't know exactly what you're going to, which thing we talked about that you're talking about there, but yeah, there's a lot of weird American things, and Craig is one of the weirdest ones. He likes sardines. Let's see here. I will add fermented banana flowers and cabbage along with my pork and chicken. Yeah, cabbage is not horrible if I remember right. I used to eat a lot of cabbage back before I found Carnivore. One of my go-to meals when I was attempting to lower my carbs via the diet that the dietitian gave me. I would take, like an 8-pack of those Johnsonville brats, put them in the bottom of a pan and let them brown up, and then dump a little water on them and put an entire cabbage in on top of it, chopped up, and let the cabbage cook down. And that's what I would have. Of course, not all at once. I would spread that out and have it through 3 or 4 meals throughout the day, because that was, the proper way to eat was, to have 3 meals a day plus 3 snacks. So you're eating 6 times a day. We now know that eating 6 times a day, all that does is pushes your insulin up and keeps it up all day. So you never have a chance for it to come back down and get better. So, but that's, yes, I actually really like cabbage, and I have no plans on adding any kind of vegetables back into my diet. But if I did, making a thing of sausages and cabbage is probably the first thing I would make. I got pork shoulder at 79 cents a pound. Yeah, that's a really good price. Pork is not quite that cheap here, but there aren't as many pig farms in Nebraska as there are feedlots for beef, which is why beef is staying a little more reasonable here, but pork and chicken are still cheaper. They're just not as much cheaper as they are in some places, because I live right in the middle. I mean, I could go outside and they're a little bit too far to walk, but I could point out 3 slaughterhouses where cows are brought in to be processed within about 3 miles of my house. So there's a lot of beef processing that happens in Omaha. Iguana is the cheapest if you can find them. Yeah, the thing that you can hunt for yourself is always going to be the cheapest meat that you can get. And for those that don't know, Rick is down in Florida, and he hunts iguanas with, I believe, a crossbow. It might just be a regular bow and arrow, but I think it's a crossbow. And because shooting a gun off in the middle of Miami is probably not the best thing. And if you just wound them, they run away. But apparently the arrows stick the iguana to the tree so that even if it doesn't kill it, it can't run away. And Rick can get those and stick them in his freezer and keep the iguana population from overrunning the residents of his neighborhood, because he makes them as a tasty treat. Yeah, fermented almost 2 weeks. And I can totally see that. I'm not a big fan of fermented foods, but if I was, as Dr. Barry has said many times, do we want to eat oats or beans or any of that kind of stuff? No, we don't. But if it comes down to it, starving or eating something like that, I'm going to choose something like that every time. I don't think we're going to get to that point here in Nebraska, and I certainly hope I don't get to that point down there on the homestead in Texas, but we shall see. Because what I'm really hoping is I get stuff built well enough over the first 2 winters down there so that I can install a full-size freezer, and hopefully by that time I will have made a few friends in the area. Hopefully, at least one of them is a rancher that will sell me a whole cow. And then I can take it off to the butcher, have the butcher prep it for me, and I can bring home a freezer full of meat. It probably won't be as cheap as some other places, because I'm never going to get it for the less than $3 a pound that I get ground beef at Walmart, but it will be a better quality beef, and I'll get a fairly good price by buying it as a whole cow. I like fermented cucumbers and kimchi. I don't know what kimchi is, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And it's one of those things that I know those that add fermented stuff to their diet. Kimchi is one of the things that comes up quite often. Yes, it is a crossbow. Good memory, Bob. Just a lucky guess. My memory's terrible. Eating is better than starving, and I think that fermentation is better because it's what the cows use. Yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, do cows and other ruminants actually get nutrition from the grass that they eat? Well, technically, yes, they do, but it's not that they just digest the grass. They chew the grass. It goes into their stomach where it's fermented by the bacteria. And then the bacteria and the fermented pieces all get ground up and turned into fatty acids and amino acids. And that's what the cows eat. So, yes, eating fermented is better than just eating vegetables raw. Less junk, more health has arrived. Hello, young man. How are you today? We still got about 20 minutes left, so if you have any questions or comments or topics that you want to talk about, now's a good time to get them in over here in the comment bar. I'm happy to try and cover stuff. And if I don't know about it, I'll say I don't know about it, just like that last comment. I very honestly have no idea what kimchi is. All I know is that I've heard it, and I've heard several influencers and other people talking about kimchi. But like I said, I have no idea what it is, other than it's some kind of a fermented food. Let's see here. But yeah, back to one of the things I talked about earlier with the plant-based food products. I don't want to call them foods because they're not really foods. There aren't really, other than the few fermented things that we've been talking about, there aren't really anything that's plant-based that's actual food from humans. But this labeling everything plant-based is starting to get out of hand, which is why I'm hoping if there's any of the people from the other side of the aisle that stumble upon one of my videos, they will share this out too and join me in this crusade so that 20, 25 years from now, we don't have a whole new generation of people that are in the same boat I was in from falling for the fat-free, low-fat crap that isn't really food. And I'd hate to see a whole new generation of people getting sucked into the plant-based labeling. Because we all know that Oreos are plant-based. but they are certainly not good for you. They are not a healthy food. But people will assume that because the Oreos say plant-based on them and some other cookie does not, they'll choose the Oreos because it says plant-based on it. And they're also really big on putting in some the non-GMO thing is another thing that is just crazy stupid out there. Everybody is, non-GMO. Let me clue you in. There's not really such a thing as non-GMO food. Now, they may not be first generation, but every piece of fruit that you can buy in the grocery store today over the last 100 years has been genetically modified to be bigger, tastier, brighter in color. They're basically big sacks of sugar. If you remember back when we were kids, getting an apple off of our grandmother's apple tree, they were not big, they were not super sweet. In fact, they were quite sour. That's what an apple is. Grapes are supposed to have seeds. And I remember because my grandmother also had some grapevines. And we would go out and help pick the grapes, but managed to eat a few while we were out there. And I can tell you those grapes were so sour that you could feel your whole body puckering, not just your mouth from the sour, but your entire body would pucker from the sour. Did you ever have a stall when losing your weight? Not really. I started, and the weight just started to fall off. And it fell off all the way down to where I'd lost about 150, 155 pounds in the first year. I'm still at about that same weight. I haven't really lost anything else. I still think I would feel better and look better if I could shed another 20 or 25 pounds. But I'm not too concerned about it because I can tell a big difference in how I feel this year over last year, even at this time. I haven't lost a whole lot of weight, but my body composition has gotten better. I have a lot more muscle, and I can do a lot more things. Even last summer when I was working for the miniature golf course, I did close on Saturday night, but Dave, the owner, was my second person, and he basically did everything before he left so that all I would have to do is basically close out the register, close the shutters, and lock the doors. And now I open one day, I close another day. And most of the time, he doesn't even check on me to make sure I got everything done because he knows that I'm just going to be able to do it. And last year at this time, he didn't feel like I was able to do that yet. And now he does. I'm going to get a drink here. So while I have not lost any weight in the last year to speak of, or fat, I should say, I think I've lost some fat and gained some muscle, but my weight has stayed about the same. So the short answer to your question is no, I didn't actually stall, unless you want to call this entire last year a stall, because I haven't really lost anything weight-wise on the scale. But I can tell my body composition is better. And I feel like I have even more energy than I've had before. Sophia is here. Hello, Sophia. We got about 15 minutes left there, folks. Yeah, and I didn't ever have a stall, so I can't tell you how to move past one if you're in that boat. There are a lot of stall videos out there on other people's channels. As you know, I'm not a big proponent of forced fasting. But if you're getting into if you're in a stall and you're not doing lion diet, that's where I would start. I would go with just beef, salt, and water for 2, 3, 4 weeks and see if that breaks the stall for you. If not, you might try a 2 or a 3 day fast. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of fasting to force it. I believe that we should let it come to us naturally, as in if we're not hungry, we just don't eat. But I'm not a big fan of waking up one morning and saying, I'm going to fast today. And even if I get hungry, I'm just going to white knuckle through it because I'm just not going to eat today. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that is setting us up for failure. So that I think we should eat when we're hungry, but if we're not hungry, then we don't eat. And that will lead to some 1 or 2 day fasts. Fat-free is what I call dirt. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I hated apples and most vegetables, but of course, we were told eat your 5 a day. Yeah, and that's, I mentioned briefly back earlier in the show about the medical system not wanting us to get healthier by giving us bad advice. And is it possible that the people that have been suggesting 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, knowing that that will lead most people to health problems 20, 30 years down the line, could they be culpable in the bad health that is plaguing this country and the world, really? There's not a lot of people in the world now. I think here in the United States, we're worse off than many other places because I forget what the stats were exactly. We have like 5% of the population of the world, yet we consume 70% of the world's pharmaceutical products. That's interesting, don't you think? It says, yeah, my weight always seems to be the same even when I eat more. Because, well, you've been doing this for so long, Rick, that your body is just stable. It likes what it likes. And there aren't many people your age that do the type of physical job that you do. And Danny says, I've been stalled for a while, did a 3-day sardine fast. Since then, I've been losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. Got to keep taking that vitamin P. Yes, vitamin P is patience. I'm not a huge fan of sardine fast. I do think there are some, the egg fast, the sardine fast. I think the sardine fast works because sardines are so disgusting that people just, after they've eaten 2 or 3 tins, knowing that if they're really hungry, that they have to eat more sardines, I think they just end up not eating very many sardines. I could be wrong on that, because I know there's plenty of people out there like Craig that just love sardines. I couldn't do a sardine fast because I just, yuck. And Keith is here. Hello, Keith. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. You're late, but you are here. We've got about 10 minutes left before I have to get on out of here and go to work. So if you have any last-minute questions or comments, now's the time to get them in. I don't know what point I made that you liked, Rick, but thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so just a quick recap. We talked about milk. Milk comes from mammals. Almond milk is not milk. The only reason it's called almond milk is because nobody can say nut juice with a straight face. But the whole point I brought that up is that I don't remember what country it was, but I think it was Italy that banned calling things by names that aren't proper, meaning that they can't call oat milk, or almond milk. They can't call it almond milk because it's not milk. Just like they can't call Beyond Burger anymore because it's not actually burger. It's not meat. It's a pile of ingredients that is sort of supposed to look like meat and sort of supposed to taste like meat, but they're not allowed to call fake foods by the real food's name anymore. Like I said, I don't remember what country it was. I think it was Italy, but I'm not going to swear to that. I suspect it was Italy because Italy was the first country to ban lab-grown meat from being sold. And I don't have the list handy, but there is a list in my Facebook group and on several other Facebook groups. It's out there to be found. There are a lot of primarily Tyson products where we're starting to see bugs show up in the food. So you need to be aware of what the ingredient names are for bugs and larvae that they're putting into these products. I know most of us don't buy pre-made chicken patties. If we're going to have chicken, we buy a whole chicken or chicken pieces. But if you're still at the stage where you're buying like pre-made chicken patties or anything like that, make sure you're checking the labels unless you want to eat bugs. Now, that's a whole nother story, and I'll probably talk about bugs in a whole video at some point. I think if it's a choice between eating bugs and eating the crap they're serving us in the middle of the grocery store, depending on the bug, I would probably take bugs because there is protein in bugs. I mean, there was a study done in China, not really a study, but they fed some college students. One dining hall had basically bug-based products in it, and another dining hall had regular food. Regular food meaning standard Western diet stuff. And apparently they shut the program down because it didn't do what they thought it was going to do. Apparently everybody eating in the bug-based dining hall was starting to do better in their classes. And they didn't want, that's not the result they were looking for. So I think the jury is still out on bugs. I think it has a lot to do with which bugs they're using, which ones have an exoskeleton and which ones don't. Because, I mean, people have been eating crickets for centuries as a delicacy in certain countries. So I think the jury is still out on eating bugs, but I still think cows and chickens and pigs and any of the wild ruminants like elk or deer are a much better choice than bugs. Got a couple more comments in here that I want to get to. I've eaten a lot of bugs for breakfast secondhand. Yes, because you eat duck eggs. And your ducks have eaten the bugs in your yard. I don't mind eating bugs secondhand either. And Keith said, I'd love to try some bugs. At least it's not chemicals. Yeah, see, and that's where I'm at. You know, if it's depending on how they put it together, I would go for bugs before I went through any of the chemical laden crap that they sell in the middle of the store. Under, you know, there's ingredients that I can't pronounce and have no idea what they are or what they do. Those are the types of things that made me sick in the first place. So it's an interesting thing to think about. I have caught and cooked escargot, which I believe is snails. I don't know for sure. I've heard the name escargot. I think it's snails, but I won't swear to that because I don't know for certain. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming today. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. The whole point of my live streams is to just get a chance to sit down and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So that's what we do. We just sit here and we chat about whatever come up, whatever happens to come up. Today, we seem to talk about, well, Snails. We've talked about snails today. And we've talked about peanut butter and sardines and a few other things. But I hope you enjoyed the live stream today. That's what I've got for you today, folks. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Oh, wait a minute. I just threw up a little bit in my mouth, Rick. Okay, have a great day, guys. Get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, and every day. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you in the next one.